Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Welcome back, PALS TV. It's been a fun week already. Great start to season 7, and we will continue that here today. We'll be heading from Steubenville over to Heath, back to Caddis, and then finishing our day over in Columbus. Great lineup. We love our tours with Amanda, and she'll start our day out with a tour this morning, and then heading over to Heath to join our friends and community partners there. Together we go gardens for some tips on your garden at home right now. Then heading to Caddis, like I said, for music trivia during the lunchtime hour, then finishing the day off with a cook-off in Columbus between Chef Phil and our AOTL friends. But this morning, I was actually talking about it right before everyone got on. Amanda's taken us to a lot of different places, both in the country and internationally, really. We started out in Washington, D.C. with our Smithsonian tour, and then Ford Theater. Headed over to Dayton, Ohio for our Air Force Museum. Then went over to Australia to do the Surfing Museum tour. Then Orlando, Florida for our Magic Kingdom walkthrough. Then Italy, actually went to Vatican City and toured the Vatican and the Sistine Chapel. And then yesterday, most recently, over in Africa to do an animal safari. So today will be our first time visiting New York City. So I'm looking forward to the tour she has for us today, and checking out the Botanical Garden. So live from Steubenville, we have Amanda.
Hi everyone, good to see everyone again. All right, so like Aaron said, we are going to the Botanical Garden in New York today. Got a lot of pretty flowers to go to. I know here locally in Steubenville, in Pittsburgh, they have the Phipps Conservatory. I tried to find a tour for them, you know, something a little closer for me to home, but not much for Phipps. They keep it close to the vest. They don't want to let us know what's going on. So we are going to go to New York since they have theirs available for us to look at. So let's pull up our virtual tour. I want to pause. All right, so I am going to bring this over here, oops, not that. Why are you not wanting to move? All right, bring this over here. I'm gonna pop you guys up bigger so I can see. All right, I'm gonna share my screen now. Let's see if it works. Oh, Lizzie, I see. I'm sorry you're not feeling well, darling, but thanks for popping on to PALS TV. All right, so let's share my screen. Right. Can everybody see the NYBG virtual tour logo? Thumbs up if you can see it. Good, Kristen. Excellent. All right, so let me make sure that I share my computer sound so you guys can hear. All right, and we are ready for our virtual tour.
I'm Mark Hatchadorian, Director of Glasshouse Horticulture and Senior Curator of Orchids here at the New York Botanical Garden. I'm happy you all could join me today for a tour of the Orchid Show and our incredible botanical collections. So we'll take a walk and I'll be able to show you some incredible plants and talk about this year's exhibition in everything from the design, the theming, and some of the remarkable plants that we will see in the show and find along our way. Working with Jess Latham, celebrated floral designer, was a real pleasure for us here at the New York Botanical Garden to create this year's 18th annual orchid exhibition. One of the things that is so remarkable about Jeff is his very distinctive signature style of using bold, dense blocks of color to create an immersive experience for our visitors. Here at the entrance of the exhibition, there's an incredible mirrored Vanda.
Hold on, guys. It's being weird. Give me a minute. Give me 1 minute. It's being goofy. My computer is not a happy camper today. All right, so let's try this again. No, I don't want that. My goodness, guys, I don't know what the problem with my computer is. Okay, I think I've got it now. Technical difficulties. No, stop it. Okay, so, all right, I believe I have it now. We're going to start back from the beginning, okay, guys? So let me share my screen. Screen 2, share. Still got you guys up, and I can still see everyone here. Okay. There we go.
Hi everyone, I'm Mark Cacciadorian, Director of Glasshouse Horticulture and Senior Curator of Orchids here at the New York Botanical Garden. I'm happy you all could join me today for a tour of the Orchid Show and our incredible botanical collections. So we'll take a walk and I'll be able to show you some incredible plants and talk about this year's exhibition in everything from the design, the theming, and some of the remarkable plants that we will see in the show and find along our way. Working with Jeff Latham, celebrated floral designer, was a real pleasure for us here at the New York Botanical Garden to create this year's 18th annual orchid exhibition. One of the things that is so remarkable about Jeff is his very distinctive signature style of using bold, dense blocks of color to create an immersive experience for our visitors. Here at the entrance of the exhibition, there's an incredible mirrored Vanda fountain, which reflects all the colors and textures of the foliage surrounding it, giving it almost an invisible feel, even though this massive sculpture weighs several hundred pounds. Above it is an incredible grid of Vanda orchids in both electric purple and intense magenta, in which these hundreds of plants hanging from a framework create a very bold and dramatic statement the minute you walk in. The columns are filled with cascades of magenta, pink, and wildly patterned phalaenopsis. And even over here in one corner is an orchid named after Jeff Latham himself, Vanda Jeff Latham, which we were happy to be able to include in this year's exhibition.
So guys, I just wanted to stop real quick. I always think this is something really neat about orchids. A lot of them, like if you look right inside right here in the middle, it kind of looks like there's like a little bug inside. That's just the way the orchid kind of has, looks like a little bit like a bumblebee or something. I always think that's real neat about orchids. Depending on what orchids you look at, it's almost like they have little personalities. Okay, so I'm gonna just stop and read this quote. It says, Vanda Sananda Jeff Latham, Ansu Vanda, an orchid nursery in the Netherlands, named the speckled flower in Jeff's honor in 2017. Orchids in the genus Vanda are available in virtually every color of the rainbow. And then we have a quote. It says, I love this dark, almost black purple, says Jeff.
All throughout the ground is a complementary palette of foliage, including begonias, strobilanthes, and the wonderful soft green textures of ferns that not only complement but amplify the color experience in this year's exhibition. might notice as we go through this tour that we're traveling a different path than our visitors normally follow. The reason why is that several galleries here in the conservatory are currently closed for renovation. When working with Jeff Latham, we had an opportunity to reinvent the entire experience, and in doing so have really created a very different feel for this year's orchid exhibition. One of the other great things that we've done is throughout the conservatory brought out some really special plants, not just orchids from our collections, to really enhance the visitor experience.
It says the soft colors and textures of a grassy meadow inspired the design of this gallery. So keep that in mind as we go.
In this gallery, Jeff wanted a brief pause of calm before we moved on to the rest of the exhibition. He created a very small winding path and a very meadow-like effect in which orchids are placed throughout the house, both cymbidiums, phalaenopsis, and paphiopedilums, dotted amongst grassy foliage, creating a very calm transition before the next house. But before we get there, I do want to share with you a really incredible plant. As I mentioned, we brought out some real stars from our extensive botanical collections, and one of the greatest orchids on display is here to my left, the Darwin star orchid. This orchid here, Angraecum sesquipedale, is native to eastern Madagascar. It has a fantastic story about its pollination, its discovery, and its relationship to Charles Darwin. When Charles Darwin was presented with a sample of this plant, he theorized that because it was a white flower, fragrant only at night, and it has this remarkable long tube-like nectar spur that hangs off the back of the flower, that there was indeed a moth with a tongue long enough to reach the nectar at the very tip of that tube. It wasn't until about 40 years later that scientists did indeed discover the moth, a moth called Xanthopan morganae praedicta, the predicted moth. And yes, indeed, it does have a tongue long enough to reach that nectar.
So I'm just going to pause for a minute. Now, if you guys look right there's the tongue that they're talking about. So you can see it's a ruler there. He actually has a 12-inch or a 1-foot tongue. That's how he would use it to go down into the tube of that orchid to get the nectar. So, and if you see right here, you can see where it's rolled up. So when he wasn't, trying to get nectar from the flower or the orchid, this would have rolled up all the way back over here to his nose. So that right there, that way, because you couldn't fly with some, a nose out to here. You could just think you and me, we couldn't walk with our nose clear out to there. So that would, just make it so he could fly and get to where he needs to be.
This orchid is one of the special plants from our extensive botanical collections that shows the remarkable relationships that many orchids have evolved with their pollinators, and in this case, a night-flying moth native to Madagascar, where this orchid is from. One of the things about this exhibition is a real sensory experience, not just for your eyes, but for your nose as well. And I wish I could convey the beauty and intense fragrance of the citrus trees that are blooming here in the conservatory right now. It's unbelievable. Throughout this year's exhibition, Jeff wanted to create a seamless, immersive experience for our visitors. So in every one of the galleries you travel through, there is definitely something interesting to see. We're going to move into the desert galleries, and I'll talk about some of the design in there.
Pause right here so we can just kind of look around. You saw a few close-ups. So this particular area of the botanical garden we're in, it's got a lot of succulents and desert dwelling plants. So over here you see some different stuff, and up there, the pretty glass of the greenhouse.
In the Deserts of Africa gallery, we use natural materials like these bamboo poles, painting them this beautiful bright blue. One of the things that Jeff wanted to highlight was the beauty of the conservatory and the incredible architectural forms of these plants. By using these strong vertical accents, it leads the eye up, allowing you to explore every aspect of the beauty of these incredible plants. You might not be surprised to know that there aren't many orchids in the desert galleries because the conditions aren't ideal for the blooms themselves and the tropical plants that they are. But in reality, there are orchids that grow even in the deserts of the world. Over here in the bed is a plant of Eulophia petersi, and it's an orchid that grows in the deserts of Central and Southern Africa, truly showing that this is a remarkable group of plants found in every environment imaginable. The orchid family is one of the largest flowering plant families with almost 25,000 incredibly naturally occurring species and now over 100,000 man-made hybrids. And this diversity is what makes this such a celebrated group of plants. And so you have plants that grow in deserts, swamps, but orchids in their greatest diversity are found in the tropics of the world near the equator.
Okay, so it says California poppies, Escolosia californica, grow naturally in many western landscapes, including desert habitats such as this one. They bloom in early spring, perfectly timed to accompany the orchid show.
Here in the American Desert Gallery, we've included little pops of color. Bright orange California poppies and blue Nemophila, also known as five-spot, in addition to the incredible sculptural forms of the cacti and succulents in this house. But one of the most remarkable transformations in this year's exhibition that Jeff had us install to create this seamless experience is just behind us. So come on along and I'll show you what we've done in this area.
So as you walk through, notice we're still in the desert room. So we have the succulents over here, we have the little cacti, we have the trees that you would find in a desert climate. Definitely wouldn't want to sit on one of these, although it kind of looks like a step stool or something, huh? Or one of those floor cushions you'd sit on.
The path of our visitors is different than it normally is in this year's exhibition. Jeff's creative eye saw an opportunity to take advantage of new focal points and areas of interest that normally might be behind you. This beautiful curved wall was decorated with Phalaenopsis, succulent baskets, and Tillandsias to create an incredible textural effect here as you descend into the lower part of the exhibition on your way to the Upland Rainforest Galleries. Second only to about the 6,000 orchids that are on display in this year's exhibition. The most remarkable transformation is right behind me. Jeff wanted to not only create a continuous experience for our visitors as they move through the conservatory, but really wanted to transform a normally quiet pass-through space into an immersive color experience so people could really step into and be surrounded by the kaleidoscope of this year's exhibition. Here in the tunnel, we used some LED lights to transform this normally drab and quiet space into a moving, immersive experience that has really been a favorite of the visitors and our staff alike. It really is an incredible point at which it leads the visitor from one section to the other without you ever leaving this wonderful and colorful experience in this year's 18th Annual Orchid Show. Here in the Upland Rainforest Gallery, we've displayed the plants in a very naturalistic setting, just like they would be found in the wild, growing as epiphytes attached to the branches of trees, where orchids, over the course of their evolution, have climbed the trees to reach the best available light, water, and moisture in rainforests around the world. Throughout this gallery, you'll see some spectacular examples of plants that orchids would be found growing naturally with. Ferns, cycads, bromeliads, and one of our really special groups of plants are tropical blueberry relatives, which are just starting to bloom. You'll notice these dotted throughout the exhibition with colorful tubular blooms because the flowers are pollinated by hummingbirds. In the Upland Rainforest Gallery here, the walls are covered with mosses, selaginellas, beautiful anthuriums, and there are wonderful specimens of bromeliads dotting the landscape here in the conservatory. One of the most...
So I'm going to pause real quick, guys, and I'm going to look and I can see, you guys, if anyone knows the answer. So there is a pretty common fruit that you can get in the grocery store, and the plant it grows on is considered a bromeliad. What fruit is it? Anybody have any ideas? Okay, I can give you a hint. Some people put it on pizza. Ah, I see Caitlin.
Pineapple.
What?
Pineapple.
Pineapples, that's right. A pineapple is considered a bromeliad, part of that family. All right, so we'll keep going now.
Most impressive is Alcantaria imperialis from Brazil. This rosette of leaves can hold up to 30 gallons of water, in which a world within a world is created. And animals, amphibians, frogs, and even some species of plants live within this tank of water, providing a miniature reservoir to survive in this rainforest environment. Throughout this rainforest gallery, we've tucked little vignettes of tropical lady slippers and other small orchids from our extensive botanical collections. So as you move through, there's a wonderful element of discovery and surprise as you encounter these groups of plants throughout this section of the greenhouse.
So right here, you can see this white one right here. The name of this particular orchid is a Phalaenopus frosty angel. So why do you think, like looking at this white flower right here, why do you guys think it's called frosty angel? Anyone have any idea why you think it's called frosty angel? No? So I'll give you a hint. Fall and winter comes. What color is frost? Lauren.
White.
Okay. White. So we have a white orchid, so that's why they call it a frosty angel. Okay, and over here we have a big yellow orchid. It's not going to give me the name for that one. I'm assuming the sign's farther in front where we can't see.
into the Upland Rainforest Gallery, we've completely covered the columns with flowers and ferns, keeping that theming going, but also letting you know you're about to see something really special. In the next gallery, we've brought out a lot of really unique and special plants from our extensive botanical collections to highlight the beauty and diversity of the orchid family. One of the strangest orchids here in the exhibition doesn't even look like a flower at all. The butterfly orchid, Psychopsis papilio, native to northern South America, is one of the most remarkable flowers here in this year's orchid show. These strange and bizarre looking flowers are credited with creating Victorian orchid mania, in which people collected thousands of orchids and built enormous glass houses just like the one we're in today, all inspired by collecting and displaying incredible exotic blooms like this. By collecting and displaying incredible exotic blooms like this.
So I wanted to pause. What do you guys think that orchid kind of looks like? I told you all the orchids, they end up sort of looking like something. They can be masters of disguise. So what do you guys think that orchid looks like? Okay, Mark, I see you. Let's see if I can unmute you there. What does it look like, Mark?
It looks kind of like a praying mantis, but it also looks like a butterfly.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a bug, basically. So let's see, Kristen, I see you. What do you think it looks like?
It looks like a fairy almost.
It looks like a what?
Fairy, because the arms.
Yeah,
Head.
yeah. So, they're very brightly colored and they take on these different forms. And that, believe it or not, that's another way an orchid kind of protects itself from, animals that might want to, knock it down or something. And it also attracts other insects. So let's keep going.
Here in the climate-controlled orchid display, we've got an incredible diversity of miniature orchids from our extensive orchid collection, of which is one of the largest of any institution in the world, over 6,000 individual specimens. I've brought out two of my favorites here, this Microturangus from Madagascar with flowers a couple of millimeters in diameter, but the real star of the show is this tiny Oberonia, which has these fuzzy tails of flowers with several hundred blooms on an inflorescence, each smaller than a millimeter in diameter. Probably the most familiar orchid in this exhibition, whether you realize it or not, is this here. This rubbery vine is vanilla. What often is referred to as a bean is actually not a bean at all, but the seed pod of an orchid. So if you've ever wondered what those little black specks are in your vanilla ice cream, they're the seeds of this plant, because vanilla comes from an orchid. The New York Botanical Garden is one of several rescue centers for.
So just to read the caption underneath, it says the entire orchid family is listed under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, otherwise known as CITES. Now, I personally didn't know, I don't know if you guys know, I definitely did not know that vanilla bean pods came from an orchid. That's really cool to know. Mark, I see your hand up.
Yeah, how I knew that was because it's called vanilla. It's not really a bean. If you Because if you look at the vanilla extract, it has different ways to make it.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. For some of you that don't know, vanilla extract, it's a little bit different. So how they make vanilla extract is they take the pod from the orchid and they put it in a jar, the whole pod, and then they put alcohol in it, usually like some strong vodka or something like that, and then they let them sit for, you know, weeks, months at a time, depending on the strength of the vanilla they want. And then once they get it to their desired strength, they pop out the vanilla beans, especially if they're making large batch vanilla extract, and bottle it up and send it to the stores and out to you guys. I actually know some people in my life that make their own vanilla extract, which is pretty neat to see.
Rare and threatened plants. If plants are being smuggled into the country and the shipment is seized, rather than the plants be destroyed, they're brought to a rescue center, such as the New York Botanical Garden, where plants like this Paphiopedilum delenatii from China and Vietnam will be rehabilitated and added to our permanent collections, which we can breed and propagate and share these remarkable plants with other botanical gardens around the world.
So that's pretty neat to think of. You know, when I think of people smuggling things into the country, I personally always think of like people smuggling in like animals or, you know, things of that sort. It never would have occurred to me that people would have tried to smuggle in flowers. Never would have thought flowers. It says Jeff Latham designed arches of orchids to complement the existing architecture and flowering vines in this gallery. Oh, Mark, I see your hand up here. Yes, Mark.
Yeah, how you were saying that you didn't know that they smuggled plants in. They actually use plants to make some drugs.
Well, that is true. There are some plants that make drugs. No argument there. But, you know, I definitely wouldn't have thought of something like an orchid as being something that a person would smuggle into the country. All right, so let's keep going.
One of the final dramatic moments that Jeff created is something he called Rise and Shine, in which he filled the vine gallery here with these incredible arches that grade from yellow through orange, peaches, and almost to reds, creating a sunset-like effect here in the gallery. The orchids surround the visitor above, to the side, left and right, and even in the reflection of the pool, create almost a tunnel-like effect as visitors move through, giving them that immersive experience that Jeff really wanted to capture in this year's orchid exhibition, Jeff Latham's Kaleidoscope. Probably the one plant that tries to upstage the orchids every year is one of our most photographed and prized specimens, the jade vine. These incredible turquoise blue-green flowers are borne on these long hanging clusters, over 36 inches long. These incredible blooms are native to the Philippines and are a relative of our wisteria. But it's the remarkable color, this turquoise blue-green, that makes this such a special plant. There's probably only about 6 flowers in the world that naturally have blooms this color. These strange blooms are actually pollinated by bats in its native habitat, which as they climb over feeding on the sweet nectar, pollinate this incredible vine from the Philippines. Thank you all for coming along on a tour of this year's Orchid Show. I hope you enjoyed the experience of Jeff Latham's Kaleidoscope.
away with an unforgettable impression of the color and beauty of the orchids. And that was a quote by Jeff Lee. Okay, so that was really nice to be able to go through that, you know, since we can't get out and about. So how many people here, raise your hand, have been to a greenhouse before? I'm going to say pretty much everyone here has been to a greenhouse at some point in their lifetime, whether it's to get flowers for your flower bed at home or, you know, pick up something for someone. So I want to see if anybody knows, there is a particular plant, I mean, there are many that are really fragrant, but what is a plant that, can somebody give me a plant that smells really, really good? Like as soon as you walk in the room, even if someone only has one, you can smell it. Caitlin.
Sunflower.
Sunflowers? I don't know if sunflowers are really big. I don't think they have much smell to them though. Although I've never smelled a sunflower. I'm gonna take your word for it. Let's see here. Lauren, what's a flower that, you know, has a lot of smell to it?
Cilantro?
Cilantro? Well, that's an herb, but it definitely has some smell too.
Oh.
I'm part of one of those anti-cilantro people. I think it tastes like soap. Ugh. Okay. Can I mute you, darling? If you want to type it in the keyboard. Can someone name me another one that's a very, you know, fragrant flower? Mark?
It is a rose.
A rose? Yep, roses smell very good. Let's see here. Caitlin?
I was going to say rose and tulips.
Yeah, tulips. Mm-hmm. So one thing I always think, oh, wait, I see Kristen here. Yes, Miss Kristen.
Flowers have different fragrance.
What did you say, dear?
All flowers have a different fragrance.
Yeah, all flowers have different fragrances. You're right. Gila, I don't think it's gonna let me unmute you, honey. I'm trying. It's not letting me. Let's see here. I see Tanya's face in here. Tanya, what's a fragrant flower?
Lilies.
What'd you say?
Lilies.
Lilies. Yep, that's what I was searching for. Lilies and hyacinths. So you ever notice in springtime when you walk into a store like Lowe's or Walmart and they have those particular flowers out, the smell is just,
I know, I don't know if you're.
boom, hits you right in the face.
Tell her you're unmuted.
Huh?
You got.
Hi there. What's a fragrant, bleh, I can't talk. What is a fragrant flower now that you're unmuted and I can hear you?
Gila, what's the one you said?
Well, there.
An orchid.
An orchid. Yep. They said orchids have a lot of smell to them. Yes. So now what do you guys think? Like, we're going to just pretend and imagine like we were in that greenhouse. So what are some things, tell me what you think it would be like in the greenhouse. Like what temperature do you think it is in the greenhouse? Caitlin.
Hot.
Hot. Okay. What about who thinks that the greenhouse would probably be humid inside? You guys think it would be humid in there? Lauren, you think it'd be humid? Mark, you think it'd be humid? Does anybody know why it's important for plants to have humidity? Anyone have any idea why humidity is important to plants? Mark.
Because it would help the water and would help water them.
Yep, it would help keep the plants moist. Some plants, especially tropical plants, which an orchid is considered a tropical plant, they really do best and thrive the best in high humidity temperatures. So what is, we'll go through, we got some time. If I can unmute you, I'm going to, and let me know what your favorite flower is. And if I can't unmute you, type it into the chat bar. Caitlin, what's yours? Favorite flower?
Rose.
Rose, okay. Kristen, what's your favorite flower?
I like lavenders.
Lavender, ooh, I like lavender too. I have lots of lavender lotion and body washes and things like that. Candles, I like lavender a lot. Let's see here. Sean,
All right, you go.
The frost orchid?
the frost orchid. Okay, you like the frost orchid? That's cool. Let's see here. Mark, what's your favorite flower? Well,
I like them all.
you like them all? You don't have a favorite?
No.
No? Okay. Let's see here. Lauren, what's your favorite?
I like sunflowers.
Sunflowers. Yes, those are very pretty. Hey, bonus question. What can you buy in the store that a lot of people eat at baseball games from that particular plant? Lauren, since it's your favorite flower, I'll let you answer.
Sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds.
I
that
love
is-
them.
Do you? Yeah. I don't mind them. They're not my favorite though. So my personal favorite flowers are daisies and lilies. I love daisies and lilies. Probably because you can find them growing out in the wild, maybe. I don't know. I like wildflowers. And I see Aaron back on here. We got to find out what his favorite flower is now that he's on here.
Well, roses, that's the easy go-to. Everyone likes roses, but I've always been a fan of carnation. My mom liked carnations, so, and I haven't heard that one on here yet. There's a lot of different good ones, though. They were good. Lilies,
no.
kids, that was a good one, Sean. I like that. So, great segment, Amanda. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad to take you guys on these tours and go exploring.
It was fun. First trip to New York City to the Botanical
Yep.
Garden. It's a great job. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow. Everyone else, come back in about 15 minutes and join us as we head live to Heath, and we will be with our friends Together We Grow. So actually, it's perfect. We talked about gardening and all these different flowers, and now we're going to go actually learn about how to do it. So
Yep, that worked out perfect.
it did work out perfect. All right, come back and join us soon, everyone. See you in about 15 minutes.
Bye, everyone.